This video is on Chapter 9, Strategic Planning from the Management for Church Leaders, Volume Number 1 Training Manual. We are now into the third section of the manual where we're talking about managing resources. And the first chapter we come to in Chapter 9 is talking about strategic planning. And strategic planning is just about putting together a plan for how you're going to achieve the goal of making disciples and other goals that you have in your church. So this particular chapter, the ultimate goal is to have each participant be able to write down a simple one-page plan for whatever activity or goal that they're trying to achieve. So again, at the beginning of this chapter, you want to look at the instructions, understand the purpose, some of the key points. We want to leave time in this chapter at the end for the exercise, because that's a big part of understanding planning, is having them actually do a plan. So we'll don't want to rush through the training, but the training is very simple and can be done in about 30 minutes or so, and then you can allow 30 minutes for the exercise. In this chapter, we also begin by asking about the importance of planning. We want to get them into groups of 3 or 4 so they begin to get their heads around what planning is all about. And we're going to make a big point in this chapter that planning is something we do every day. So all this is about is helping them write down a plan when they have something that's a little bit more complex and complicated that needs to be written down for the purpose that the church or ministry has for it. The first thing we talk about when we talk about planning is what's the definition of planning. And we talk about that in the manual, that it's the art of combining resources to achieve a goal or a vision. And then we talk about the importance of planning and why does a church need a plan? Because many people think that we should be guided by the Holy Spirit and therefore we don't need a plan. We just kind of move as the Spirit moves us. But the Spirit also helps us when we develop our plans. And by developing plans, you're really thinking about your resources and how you're going to accomplish what God has set before you. So we really want to emphasize the importance of a plan, that it's to chart the course for the future. It helps you avoid distractions. It helps you determine how best to use the resources that God has given you to achieve God's vision. Now we move into the discussion of what a strategic plan is all about. What does it contain? And we talk about the 7 elements of a strategic plan here. And this is something that's very commonly used in many other areas, such as in businesses and other organizations. And it begins with a statement of vision, and we have the statement of needs, and it goes through tactics and timing and other different factors. So this section, we're just trying to teach what are the basic elements that need to be in a strategic plan. And you can use whatever illustrations you want to help emphasize that. I usually use an illustration like building a church or going on a mission trip, and then explaining how each of these elements fits into that overall construction of a plan for that purpose. Now that we know what the elements of a strategic plan are, the next thing we want to do is come up with how do we want to develop a plan? What are the steps that we use? And so in the manual, we offer these steps on how to develop a strategic plan. And it always begins with developing a strategic planning group, a group of people that are going to work on the plan. Now, you don't need to do that if the plan is something very simple that you can just do yourself. But if it's a major plan, like building a church or doing something that's going to involve lots of people, you might want to build a strategic planning group to help construct the plan. Then we just go through how you come up with the plan, outline the plan, adding details so that your end result is a nice written plan that everybody can agree to and that gets communicated to your members or your followers. We also want to emphasize that it's very important to communicate the plan so that everyone in your church or ministry understands what the plan is, what it contains, and what you're using it to accomplish. Now we come to the exercise. And for this exercise, we want you to get them into groups of perhaps 6 to 8 people, and that each group is going to develop a strategic plan. Now, in the manual, it gives you the criteria for this plan. And basically, it's that they're going to build a church for 100 members, actually construct a church. So this is just an exercise to get them to practice thinking about what they need, how they're going to get those needs accomplished for the church. And it's just a simple one-page plan. And by working at it in groups, you just have one person in each group be the scribe, the person that writes down the plan. You don't need everybody in the group to develop it. But we want them working together and collaborating. So you need to allow enough time for this exercise. I recommend about 30 minutes, but sometimes you can go longer, especially if you'd like each group to present their plan to the whole group at the end of the exercise.